morning, and we're live! We're live. Oh boy, busy weekend this past weekend. I am joined this week by Tom.
Good evening, everyone.
Michael.
Hello.
And after a little bit of an absence and finally fixed his equipment, Mr. J.
Gentlemen.
Welcome back, Jay, just in time. Of course, those of you just joining us, this is the Metal Lab, and we're here to talk some Heroclix. So before we get into it, I want to thank our sponsors, hcrealms.com, your one-stop source of information for Heroclix in all ways. You have the forums for discussion, unit section for building your teams and tracking your collection, and the rock tab, as it were, to track local ROC tournaments that may be upcoming, such as the upcoming provincials and states events across both the U.S. and Canada. Those are occurring on the weekend of June 4th and 5th. In fact, the weekend of June 4th, or on June 4th, at the Comic Warehouse at 20 Strathern Avenue in Brampton, Ontario, we are holding the Ontario Provincials for the ROC. So we're really looking forward to that event, and we've been putting a lot of work into it to talk about a little bit later on. But while you're there, check out the shop and get some cool Heroclix gear. And while you're checking out, put in the coupon code MARRIED for 10% off of your purchase. We're also brought to you in part by MajesticCCG.com. Check out the Apex Insiders portion of the website for $3 a month. Portion. So Canadian, eh? Where for $3 a month you get access to premium articles by some big names in the game. I most recently put up an article myself about my team from this past weekend's Canadian Nationals. So if you want a little bit of insight into my mindset and going into that, check it out at MajesticCCG.com. But of course, we're going to talk about it a little bit more today, as this past weekend was Canadian Nationals. It was a great time. Did you guys enjoy yourself before we get into news?
Oh, yeah.
I had a wonderful time, albeit a short one.
Yeah, we came in the last day, yeah. It was great. It was really, really fun. It's the third one in a row for most of us.
Second.
Yeah.
Second for me, but yeah.
Second for you, and sorry, half and half. You and Jay, it's your second one. Yeah.
Did you have fun, Jay?
He came home with me.
There you go.
Yeah,
That's what's
baby.
important. That is what's important. I had a ton of fun, but we'll get into more detail on that. First, we got to cover the news, and that news is a little bit of previewing, as it were. So away goes my face, and up comes Mr. Captain America. We're, of course, talking about previews in the Civil War. Now, Mike and Jay weren't here last week, so I'm just going to remind them that when we're talking about the figures from the main set, the question isn't really, is it good, is it bad, are you happy to get it? Because of the way the draft format works, you're kind of stuck with it.
Well,
but
this one isn't that, right?
Yeah, this one's a prize figure, so is this going to be one of the ones that you would snake draft first or not, is really the question on this one. So we have Captain America. He comes with the anti-registration and soldier keywords. He is indomitable. He's got improved movement, ignores elevated, hindering, end characters, and he's got a special defense power that comes in his last 3 clicks that says, stop. Captain America can use combat reflexes and toughness. Now, there's 3 of those at the end. Everything else, no big surprises as far as what the powers do. He comes with 6 range as well. He has 80 points. Tom, what do you think of this Captain America? Are you snake drafting him early?
Oh, I am, yeah. I mean, we're going to get into this as we talk about it, but it seems kind of ridiculous that the Cap and Iron Man here top out their speed with like 6. Like, it's kind of crazy just how slow this guy is in the context of the modern game, and I get that it's kind of meant to be like those final frames of the final fight in the Civil War where they're just kind of slowly lobbing punches at each other, and most of it's been taken out of them and whatnot. That being said, honestly, 3 stop clicks for 80 points is a pretty solid deal, especially when, keep in mind that with the new wording of stop, that it can't be countered or ignored, does mean that those combat reflexes and toughness also can't be countered or ignored. So he's going to be up close, big-time defense, especially on clicks 5 and 6, that you can't outwit your way past. His toughness is going to stand even against Pulse Wave, and his attack values are solid across the dial, and the couple clicks where his damage drops below 3, he's got Close Combat Expert to make up for it. So, yeah, sure, he's slow, but he's indomitable, he's tough, and he's got 3 stop clicks for 80 points. I don't see any reason not to say yes to him.
All right. Mike?
Yeah, between the, I mean, yeah, he's a little bit slow, but once you get 3 clicks in, he's got sidestep as well, and then you've got so it's up to 7 movement at least. And he has can't be stuck. He ignores pretty much everything for movement, so he's able to go and be where he needs to be to go like this. Oh, I'm still alive. Oh, okay. Yeah, cool. 80 for 80 points, I'd say he's worth it. Be interesting to find out if anybody actually is going to break him in some way. I definitely want him, even though he isn't like as a prize figure because he goes with the Iron Man. Yeah,
He looks cool.
Yeah,
pretty cool.
that's for sure. Jay?
Not really that pleased. Considering the caliber of Captain Americas that we've gotten in the past, he has uses. I mean, he'd be decent for a good split near the end of the game, and then take a lot of hits and deal a lot of damage out. But this is not a figure I would want to snake draft first, and then want to play as my Cap and start the game off.
Well, again, you're not going to be playing this figure. You're more or less this.
Well,
I'm referring to
when I play him later. This is not the one I'm going to be going for now.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Myself, I see this guy definitely as a sponge for a much more important or better flying character who can take him, or giant character who, he's a more appealing target in some cases. Mostly because you know that you can't get through him immediately, and you're gonna have to put some work into it, even if you are gonna get through it. And I'm a Cap fan, so I'm probably gonna draft him early. Depending, I don't know what else comes in the draft pack for these guys as far as the prizing pack goes.
It's grand, right? I thought.
He might even be one of the grand prizes. That's true. So, we move then to the Iron Man, also from the grand prize pack. He's got armor, pro registration scientist, and the Stark Industries keyword. He flies. He's indomitable. He's 80 points, and he also has a special defense power, which also reads stop, but he can use energy shield and toughness as well at the end there. 6 range, running shot on the first 2 clicks, moves in the sidestep, kind of like a longer distance version of the thing we just saw. Mike, your thoughts on the Iron Man?
Once again, I like 3 stop clicks in a row. I think that's really freaking cool for 80 points. I mean, the Mauser swarms had 2 stop clicks in a row for 60 points. So I guess the extra 20 points is for the extra one. Looking at the dial itself, it's not bad at all. I mean, the values aren't bad. I love precision strike. A little leadership goes a long way in many instances, especially with a more swarmy environment, which is what I think we're going towards. Almost a retro swarmy environment from one of the conversations I had with Vince on the cast over the weekend. Is that's the way things really were, and I'm looking forward to being able to play him as well. So yes, I will be grabbing him, nabbing him in hopefully the second tournament in the series that I play in.
Yep. So Jay,
his range focus definitely makes him better than the close combat Cap because he can actually use his range to help him actually make attacks. Styles are, I think they have the exact same stats in all their clicks. So stat-wise, they're like exactly the same except for energy shield versus reflexes.
Yep.
Wish he had sidestep when he had leadership also, because that would be effective. Although with his lower points, not necessarily point tokens anyways. So, but even with leadership working the way it does, the leadership is going to be good for said swarms in reference to both him and the Cap. He's pretty decent actually. I like he is the same thing but ranged to actually be able to make attacks easier and better.
All right. Well, Tomas.
Yeah, much the same combination of what both Jay and Mike said. I like the fact that because he's got a bit more of a range focus, then he'll get he has more immediate aggressive potential than Cap. I'm still not overly fond of the fact that they're really trying to align the Cap and Iron Man dials so that they're always these mirror images of each other. As a gimmick for like this pair, great. But as a gimmick for this pair and also the pair in the main set and the pair in the Civil War movie starter and the Civil War movie Gravity Feed, etc., like it's getting a bit old. But that's just me. Otherwise, he works perfectly well from a functionality perspective. I must admit that both this guy and Captain America lose a few points for me, and that they both drop the Avengers keyword. I get that at this point they're so fractured that neither one is really acting like an Avenger anymore, I guess we're led to believe. But he does. I mean, Avengers is such a great keyword at this point that I kind of wish they had it. Otherwise, though, what can I say? He's 80 points. He has 3 stop clicks. He is functional, and he has great aggressive potential to be able to crack even the hardest reducer on every click of his dial. So why not?
Yeah. Yep. And I think the only thing that's keeping me personally from like everybody said everything I've been thinking, but other than the fact that only reason I'm probably going to be drafting Cap first is because Cap was right. Otherwise, yeah,
very true.
this is a pretty good figure. So next up, we're going to be looking at some of the previews we got from Canadian Nationals during the live stream. Of course, us being there, we didn't get a chance to grab these, nab these, or keep our own screenshots. So I want to thank the internet for doing my job for me.
Interwebs, thank you so much.
So the first preview that we saw, I did get to see them firsthand while the stream was there because they were interviewing me at the time. But we have here the Jack-O-Lantern. Now I don't know if you guys are gonna be able to see the dial particularly great. So
I've got it up on Realms. So.
All right. But he does come with improved targeting, ignore hindering. He has pro registration, obviously seen by the red dial. He's Sinister Syndicate, Skeleton Crew, and Thunderbolts. He's got no special powers. Everything is what you see is what you get. He's got a 5 range, 2 targets. Sinister Syndicate, team ability. He comes in at 60 points. And I think that's a 17. So it's supposed to be a 17 with toughness, where they kind of thumbed out the defense on the 3rd click. But he's got some energy explosion to lead, light dial, psychic blast with some earthbound. I guess he broke his glider. Knocked off my glider. Figures.
But killing penetrating damage any way that you can at that point.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Because he does have psychic blast and exploit weakness. So, Jay, let's let you take the lead on this one.
I can barely see it out. Whatever. He looks pretty decent for the points. It's always nice to get.
This is going to be one of those ones where you get handed it to you and you're using it anyway.
Yeah.
Always happy to get more Sinister Syndicate.
Especially with us starting up 11.
Yeah. Looks all perfectly good and reasonable for the points. That's a lot of solid damage output, whether it's splash or penetrating, regardless of how you're attacking. Not a bad taxi either, because that's important. And stealth busting for attacking on a figure this good and cheap is amazing. And the red base is cool.
Absolutely, those are pretty cool, colorful bases.
Although, I mean, rereading Civil War recently, he doesn't really seem to do much of what he does in the actual comic. Because he uses some sort of gas on Spider-Man and basically really messes him up and knocks him out. So, yeah.
We'll call that energy explosion.
No special powers, right? So it's just more what you see is what you get. He doesn't do anything different and special with special powers. Just more easy, simple, standard.
Yeah,
right.
That's reasonable.
All right, Tom.
He's okay. Certainly, 60 points is not a terrible way to spend points on your taxi for Doc Ock, since that's all I look at when I look at that Sinister Syndicate team ability with 11 attack. All I can see is myself getting Doc Ock across the field to make 4 flurry attacks with an 11 attack now. So from that perspective, then that's 60 points well spent. As far as he himself is concerned, he's okay. He's the very definition of okay. He's one of these things where I would get more excited if his range was longer, because of the energy explosion tool target is great at 60 points. But 5 range is a little bit meager. 16 defense to start is a little bit meager, but 11 attack is great for Sinister Syndicate teams. He can fly until he can't, and when he can't, he deals penetrating damage, which is cool. I don't know. I'm very lukewarm on him. Honestly, my favorite thing about him is that he is a Sinister Syndicate character that starts with such a great upfront attack value, and the Thunderbolts keyword that's coming back in a major way with this will offer a lot of opportunities to once again see one of the best ATAs in the game really come to the forefront again with some good options. So I think absolutely he's good. He's just not, pants lighting on fire amazing.
All right, Mike.
I mean, you guys have already mentioned the taxi bit. I do like the fact that he's a stealth busting energy exploder. But if he misses, he's dead. He is soft. So, aside from what you guys have already illustrated, he is a little soft.
Yeah.
I also do want to inform our fans that are watching right now, we are not in a war zone. It just happens to be Victoria Day here in Ontario.
Oh, did you head outside?
There are fireworks everywhere. You're
Yeah,
probably going to hear
because
it from my end and Mike's end.
I like how informing our American colleagues that it's Victoria Day, as though that will mean anything to them.
It's something down there too, though.
It's a holiday where we use fireworks. That I think is enough for.
I think it's Memorial Day down there.
That's next week.
That's
Oh,
next
is it?
week.
Okay.
I think sometimes they line up. But
Yeah, sometimes they do line up.
Yeah. But as far as like getting one shot or whatever goes, 5 clicks with toughness, and even if he does get hit, he still has decent stuff. And if your opponent is concentrating their fire on him to one shot him, even assuming they can, fine.
Even a single turn tie up. No, I get it, and I mean for 60 points, that is worth it in itself. And you know the combination with Doc Ock is a great thing to point out. But I do not like 16 attack top dial. I mean 16 defense, sorry, top dial. Yeah, and I wonder what his defense is.
I'll take a
on the
16
piece
attack,
that's chunked out there. It must be 17 though.
Yeah.
Yeah, the thumbed out defense is 17. So 17 in the middle of dial, and first and last clicks, it's got 16 defense. Myself, I'm not keen on the defense like anybody else, but I'm also going to be upset if I have this guy because somehow I ended up as pro registration that week.
We will be sitting across from each other, sir.
Yeah. Outside of that, though, this is a character at 60 points. I don't mind in the environment of Civil War because Civil War doesn't seem to have a ton of characters going to outright blow him out of the water. They're probably going to deal him 3 damage and put him on click 3 if they do hit him the first time, or he might, get hit by a 2 damage attacker, and he's still on a relatively decent click. So, in the environment of Civil War, I'm okay with him. When we get into Constructed, you're probably not going to see him on a whole lot of my teams.
It does depend a lot on what we see in Superior Foes, though. I mean,
that is true.
Sinister Syndicate could come through in a major way between this set and the obviously the prizes or the LEs that we just saw, and then Superior Foes. So Sinister Syndicate might get a big upgrade in stock. Might.
Yeah.
Well,
So
Venom
Anish-
is already one of their best because he has the 11 attack and then the 18 defense. He can already help this guy a lot, and he's already
and defend too. So they work together nicely. This guy can carry him. So.
Good old 18 defend, my favorite.
Incidentally, we could be punished for our opinions about those characters. As we talk now about the Punisher.
Yeah, he's wicked.
Punisher has anti-registration and Marvel Knights and Soldier keyword. He's got 2 traits, and I didn't get a chance to read these. This is my first time reading these. At the beginning of the game, place 3 ammo tokens on this card. When Punisher KOs an opposing character, place an ammo token on this card. Empty the clip is the second trait. When Punisher targets 1 or more characters with a range attack, he may remove 1 or more ammo tokens. If you do, when making the attack roll, it can't be re-rolled, and you roll an extra d6 for each removed token, then choose 2 dice for the attack roll. He's got a special attack power on his first 2 clicks. Give Punisher a power action and remove an ammo token. To make a range attack, then make another range attack. The first attack doesn't activate the damage depletion modifier. So basically, a stationary long-range flurry.
Yeah.
There's no free action wording in there at all.
That's right.
Exactly.
That's
Yeah.
right. And so and as we go forward, the only thing that's going to be an issue with that would be the Black Panther. He is a wild card as well, and comes in at the commonly seen number of 80 points in this set. I believe it's Tom's turn to start with the Punisher.
Oh, I love him. I love a Punisher that hits super hard and that you just can't ignore. It doesn't. Again, you talk about soft. I mean, 17 defense, I guess, is better than 16, but at willpower only. The only reduction he sees is in the middle of his dial, and there's a good chance to get knocked past it altogether. And he, at 6 damage, he could be one shot. It could take a couple shots. He's easy enough to take out, is what I'm getting at. But who cares? He's an 80-point wild card that deals outstanding damage. 6 ranges. Fine these days, and I just love the ammo tokens. He starts out with 3 of them, and if he really wants to double down, he can make 1 hit really work. Or, for better still, he can remove an ammo token, make 2 attacks, and on each one he can remove another ammo token. So he is designed off the top to be able to just sidestep in, take his power action, and then remove the ammo token. Remove the other 2 ammo tokens, 1 each for each attack, and so you're making 2 attacks with 3 dice apiece and choosing the best 2. Already on an 11 attack, that can hit somebody real hard. So if you want to just completely sort of blow out all that you've got on the first go-round, you absolutely can. If you want to not do that, then those ammo tokens will be good for other times. And if that big blast that you can send forth is enough to actually KO a character all at once, then he'll get another ammo token back and have the opportunity to do more in the future. So anyway, I guess the point that I'm driving towards is that I think he's really good. He's very, very aggressive, and that's what I like so much about him, because he feels like the Punisher to me. He hits way, way harder than he can get hit, and thus he's hard to ignore. And he's going to command a lot of attention, even to the point where if he doesn't get a chance to pull any of the above off and your opponent has to overextend themselves to take him out, then he's still 80 points well spent as far as I'm concerned. I like a nice, hardy, aggressive piece, and this absolutely is one.
All right. Mike?
So, if I'm reading this right, you can make that power action, so sidestep, make that power action, remove an ammo token, and then remove 2 more ammo tokens.
Yes.
To be able to make 2 attacks in a row with 4 dice.
Well, your first attack would be with 4. Your first attack would be with 4, and your second would be with 2. Or as in the example I gave, you could do 1 each, so that 2 attacks, both with 3.
Okay. Yeah. That's
either way, the end result is the same. But yes, it's the same number of tokens that would get removed and everything.
Pretty epic. Sorry if I seem a little distracted. The banging got louder.
They stopped being fireworks.
The exploding. I thought it was a gunfire for a second. Because it has happened once in a blue moon. I live in downtown Toronto. What? Overall amazing. Like, Tom really did cover it very, very well. Really, really good. Thumbs up. Thumbs way, way up. And it makes me want to go anti-registration.
Come to the dark side. We have cookies.
No, it's
I like and wild card. Yay for wild cards.
All right, Jay.
It's cute to see that he has the Spider-Man ally team ability after the whole thing of saving Spider-Man's life. I kind of like that. Although there was a previous Punisher that had it, but still. And I'm hoping that was why they did that. And also, I'm a complete hypocrite for saying this, but I enjoy any mechanic that benefits from facing Hank Pym in this current environment. Considering you just blast ants to get as many tokens as you want, or even a Rick Jones, or well, Phantom X is about to go, but him and all those different kinds of characters that's just infinite spawn and whatnot. What?
It's very video gamey, isn't it? It's like shoot somebody, then pick up ammo when they die. Isn't it feel kind of like that?
Yeah.
I was going to say, Punisher comes loaded with ammo, and just Cap's like, where'd you get all that? Been hunting ants.
It feels a lot like a video game to me. Just run over their corpse and pick up some ammo.
Pick up the ammo. Oh, man. I'm really excited for the June game, so.
I like how each section of his dial is just really effective in its own way, and even when he's semi-bleeding out, he has the blades and outwit and stealth, so they have to come to him, and he cuts them really bad, and then outwits the reducer before to just deal penetrating damage, essentially, or outwit whatever's left after they're done getting stabbed.
I'll cut you.
The energy explosion is...
I will cut you.
Just stabby stab.
And pick up your ammo.
Sidestep with the power is good to set it up. And unfortunately, because the trait makes it your dice unable to be removed, that is inevitably when Murphy's Law will happen, and somehow people will start rolling 3 1s. So,
yeah.
Stop looking at me like that, guys. Stop looking at me like that.
We shall
You
call
don't do that anymore. I do now.
Yeah,
we shall call it the super critical miss.
Supremely critical.
Or just critical fail. Now we can actually call it, it'll be its own category.
I don't like it when my dice criticize me.
I can't even add on to what you guys said. You guys covered it so fantastically that we have to... I feel like you've given me a bit of a cold heart. I apologize for the... Oh, this is the worst. Sorry, guys. Just give me a second.
Really bad quality.
My bad. All right, here we go. There's not much going on with this character. This is going to be one of those neutral characters. So you get 2 the anti-registration, 2 pro-registration, and a neutral character. I think you guys would be able to handle me just saying what this special blades power that she has on all of her clicks is. And it's the cryonic swords. Coldheart can use blades, claws, and fangs. When she does, and the result is 3 or more, you may choose to reduce the damage dealt by 2. If you do, After action resolve, give the character, the hit character, an action token, and that character can't be moved or placed during its next turn. So basically, it's almost like you stabbed them in the foot and said, "Stay here for a second."
Harpoon says hi.
Yeah. And her stats, she's got a 7 movement on her first click with charge, 17 defense with toughness. She's got 2 damage across the board. The second click, like after the second click, her speed drops from 7 to 6 and stays at 6 until the last click where she gets 5. The last 3 clicks she's got flurry. The first 2 clicks she's got toughness. The last 3 clicks she's got combat reflexes, and on the last 3 clicks she's got battle fury. So. Hopefully that's enough information for you guys to divulge or to work with a Coldheart. And we'll talk to Mike first about Coldheart. Oh, and the only keyword is martial artist.
Yeah, and I can see that's all it is because she's one of the neutral characters in this particular case. So with the draft, the way things are going to go, you're going to end up with one random neutral character to possibly be able to use on your team. For 60 points, she's all right. Can you put her back up on the screen? Sorry, Jason. I don't have her on my screen over
here. You don't like my face? I see how it is.
Well, I do. That's why we slept together.
It's like Vince all over again.
Yeah. I mean, it's an interesting Blades for sure. I like her end dial better than her top dial, even though you do end up with the move and attack right in the very beginning. Yeah. Once again, just low movement, so the charge is not as useful, which is something that Jay was pointing out surrounding the Captain America earlier on, the prize figure. But overall, I mean, you get her in there, she's going to take a hit, and then she's going to get better in close combat. So really, just a half decent tie-up character. Not my favorite of the picks that we've seen so far, but still not horrible.
Okay, Jay,
is her collection number 34?
Yes, 30. Yeah. It looks like 34 or 14. It's hard to make out. I'm gonna go with 14 because it looks like a common.
But that's a high number for a common.
I'm pretty sure it is 34.
It is 34, dude.
Is it? All right, then it's gonna be a rare.
I guess.
But it could just be a flat rare. Like there could be a different rarity in the numbering system as well this time around.
I think it works a little differently because there's at least one neutral in every pack, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's probably just based on what faction they are. She's a common for that faction or whatever.
Could be, yeah.
Yeah. As far as she goes, I think she's designed smartly with her having blades the full dial and then the damage value of 2, aka roll blades anyways. Nothing bad can happen.
Yeah.
And even if she does roll, I mean, it's whatever. You're rolling blades. If you get good, good. If you roll 2 or 1, that's pretty much damage value anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And it's nice with Flurry because assuming she's attacking only one character, you can attack them once to make them stick, and then actually attack them the second time. She's just pretty good, although I don't think we've seen any shape change so far for the Battle Fury to even matter for that, or in Cap. So, no. Not that it affects her being carried to its mid game, so whatever. Yeah. Not much to her to talk about.
Mm-hmm. Tom?
It's remarkable how similar she is to Wolverine. 2 clicks of charge, 3 clicks of flurry, a full dial of blades, a dial that moves between toughness and combat reflexes, just in the opposite order here, and closing 3 clicks of battle fury. These are all things that she shares with Wolverine. Except that Wolverine heals, Wolverine has the X-Men team ability, and Wolverine costs 10 points less. And Wolverine's attack values spike up towards the end. What Coldheart has to offset that is her defenses are a little more stable, and she's got her cool blades special. So, I mean, obviously, if I had to compare one to the other, I think Wolverine's better. As far as how good is Coldheart in her own right, she's okay. I like that whole blades with an optional extra, but it really is just, it's really just a sunroof. It's not making anything substantially better. It's just a little perk. Just like a sunroof. So yeah, I'm gonna call her Sunroof. Sorry, I'm off on a tangent now. But she's okay. But I find her strangely nonplussing. I find myself distracted by everything that's going on in the room. Hey, is that a fly? What, Coldheart? Who's that?
Yeah, and I have a feeling this is going to be a common theme with the neutral characters, where they just kind of are meh characters across the board, and they'll just be there to be there. You know what I mean? So, like you said, non-plussing to the most part, and just kind of being there as a thing.
Yep.
So on that, it was great to see an awesome number of previews, and I'm looking forward to the event. I want to see if the event works the way that they're planning it to work, and I hope it turns out as well as they're planning it. No, there are quite a. I don't know if we had. Did we have an official one on that one, Mike?
Yeah, it was shown. I don't have the picture up here,
Yeah,
but there is a dice and evidence. It was actually previewed.
Okay, well, we'll probably cover more of the previews next week when I have a little bit more to work on. Mostly because we're in that recovery phase from what we're going to talk about next.
Yeah. If we all seem tired and kind of half dead, it's because we are.
Were we busy this weekend, guys?
Well, I know Jason was.
Boy, was I ever. Canadian Nationals was this past weekend. It was an exciting time for all of us. And we're all going to share our stories from the event because we got a chance to play in the main or in the qualifiers, and then some of us in the main event, and then we all got a chance to battle royale. I hope, guys, because those are always a ton of fun.
I didn't, but well,
that's literally or figuratively all I did.
It was timing for me.
Yeah, which we'll get into a little bit more. I'm gonna let Mike take the lead because Mike is on a little bit more of a truncated time limit this week. He does have to duck out at 10:30.
Okay.
So, Mike, tell us about your experiences at Canadian Nationals.
Canadian Nationals, yeah. It was interesting. Good time as usual. Sorry, I've got a mint in my mouth here.
Mm-hmm.
My impression overall was good. I enjoyed the way they ran it for the most part, and there's always a couple little critiques that I have, but I've talked to them directly about them. There's not really a whole lot of negative. My performance was not as good as I would have liked. I placed well, though. I mean, I placed 11th overall. I did qualify for the final day. And
better
so,
than some of us.
Yeah, I know, Tom. It's okay. You've done very, very well in the past. Actually, all of us have at this point. And really, I'm just so proud of Jason. And
we'll get there.
We'll get there. My personal Jesus Christ right now.
That's true.
Of Latter-day Saints.
Shades of Depeche Mode.
Shades of
Oh my God! I can't even, off the top of my head, can't think of a proper Depeche Mode to take
You just can't get enough.
Oh my God! Oh, come on, Tom.
That's it.
Damn it.
Tom won the episode.
He officially won. All right, see you later. Anyway, it was about half and half Canadians and Americans that showed up. I think for me, it was really fun being able to play against one of our patrons, Matt, in the second qualifier. Really, really sweet guy. Really like him overall anyway as a person. Also got to play against Jay, which was fun. And it's true. It was fun for me. But you had a lot of fun in Battle Royals anyway.
Oh my God! I counted up my prizes. It was nuts.
I came away with the least amount of prizes just because of what happened, but also I felt kind of bad that Amber didn't qualify, so I ended up giving her one of my Hawkman from earlier on, from coming fourth in the second qualifier. Overall, really fun. I still got a Hawkman. I ended up getting one in a Battle Royal the next day.
Only one.
But the true joy was watching Jason and being able to commentate on a game with Kenny. Kenny Pena was playing against player James, I can't remember his name, from Alberta, and I sat down on the live stream that was there with Vince, and we commentated on that game. So that was really fun to be able to have the pleasure and privilege to participate. But overall, I don't know. I'm going through a little bit of a slump in terms of my gameplay at large right now. And so, that got me down a little bit at one point, but then Tom showed up and he brightened my day, as usual.
That's what he does.
I love how you talk about yourself in the third person, Depeche Mode, man. Oh, my God. Aside from that, actually going to the Barbie Barn on Saturday night.
Oh, man.
In Montreal, if you ever go there and you're near St. Catharines downtown, go to the Barbie Barn. It's kind of like Swiss Chalet or it's a Barbie
rib joint.
Yeah, it's a rib joint. They have rotisserie chicken too.
This is my highlight from it right here. Right here.
Look at that handsome guy. Jason's wearing his bib at the Barbie barn. Myself, Jason, and Jay all ordered like a rack of 9 ribs. That may not sound like much to you guys, but these were freaking huge ribs. And I swear, meat sweats have never smelled so bad.
Good thing we were in the same bed, man.
I know. Yeah, that's true too. We had 5 to a room. That was exciting. And so it was Jason and I shared a bed, and there was one little tender moment, middle of the night. He puts his hand on my back gingerly, says, "No."
That's my way of saying too close, Mike. Too close.
No. Okay. Compared to previous years too, actually, I think we all got a little bit more rest than we normally do, which
Yes.
made for better gameplay at large. I am sad now though because a whole bunch of stuff is retiring, and I've never really had to. I've never had to deal with that side of it. It's going to be an entirely new meta as of the first, actually as of the 15th, really, because that's the full retirement at that point, and the all those beautiful batteries and entities and all that stuff is gone, which really did dominate a lot of the meta thus far. So I'm looking forward to. I'm a little saddened by, but I'm looking forward to the retirement. Although we've had an entire couple of episodes about this so far, so I will take that as my opportunity to pass.
All right. So from there, let's talk about Jay, because Jay was there for the whole weekend. Jay.
I suppose some people were just too good and qualified already.
Well, you know.
Was a repeat of last year. And I anticipated this. I pre-titled it "Failing to Qualify for Day 2: How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Battle Royale."
Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
So, made sure to get up early in the morning both days, Battle Royale before any events. And then the first qualifier, I was playing. Opened up Quicksilver, so that was good already. So I played Quicksilver, Emma, Sunfire, Non-Prime, Lady Mastermind, and apparently my favorite figure from the set, the 50-point Cyclops with the traded leadership prob awesomeness.
Very cool.
First 2 games I managed to get full sweeps. One of the games was against a team with Iceman, Super Rare, and Kitty Prime, so that was difficult and scary. But thankfully my mind control on both my characters managed to make his Iceman hurt him more than he hurt me, and that was delightful. Unfortunately, sealed qualifiers came back to bite me when I faced an X-Men theme team, which with the bonus put us on the War of Light map with the waterfall, and was basically all water and a pain to go through, considering I had all walkers. And then he also had the Storm, who does free smoke cloud. So that whole game, I literally could not get to him because of just all the hindering. So ended up losing that, getting 10th in that qualifier, and that was by 50 points, which is exactly the number of points of that Storm. So if I would have been able to get rid of her, would have, well, I guess tied and rolled off with whatever, and that would have been good. And the second qualifier, I did not pull nearly as good. My good pulls were, or my high rarity pulls were Sabretooth, Rare, and Omega Red. The first round of that tournament was lost to Isaac, so that did not start off well. Then lost to Mike, and then by the time the third round came around, I was just knew I was done for that, so I just got rid of that game through that game as soon as possible to go do more battle royales. So I'm not blaming myself because sealed qualifiers are not necessarily the best indication of skill, especially considering that Isaac himself didn't end up qualifying. So if he couldn't qualify in sealed qualifiers, it's hard to feel bad about yourself. Or that's at least a justification you got to tell yourself. To not go home and cry. But battle royales are great. I ended up coming home with 2 Hawkmans, 1 Daredevil, 1 Weird, 1 Animal Man, which I needed since last year, and then 13 ID cards. 1 Hawkman, 12 cons. So that was fantastic. Battle royales are always fun. I got to play with some cool people. And then I also played that side event, the constructed side event, which was when I played the team I was supposed to use in Nationals, which was a Quinjet team that I worked on with Aaron Cantu. It did okay. I should have practiced with it more. I ended up doing okay in the tournament overall. Last round playing against Isaac with his Quinjet team that I think was either the same or extremely similar as his recent Open team. And he beat me pretty bad, although dice were not working for me that game, considering that, for one example, my Nick Fury call-in required me to roll a 6, which I failed even with the prob, so dice didn't work for me there either, so that was not ideal. But overall, it was good. Got my fair share of con swag, as well as had some fun times, so it was good. And then I got to at least lose to Mike to make him qualify.
That's right.
That's true.
Good times.
Now, before we move on to Tom's story, I do have to ask. I got a chance to play in 2 battle royales in total. One, I was in an extra room because I was doing it with one of the guys running the tournament. And the second one, I played with Nick, the head judge Jeff, and Stan. Now, am I still on record as being the loudest battle royaler ever?
Unfortunately.
Darn all that fun I was having.
You are rowdy, man. You are just plain rowdy.
The second you get me in a battle royale, I get right up and rowdy. I have so much fun doing them.
Actually, before you move on, since you mentioned Barbie Barn before, we all have to thank my mom for recommending that restaurant.
Yeah.
Well done,
Thank you, Jay's mom.
We went there twice, Friday night and Saturday night.
We did.
Man.
So that was, yeah.
I have no regrets on that one.
We had what, 13 people with us on Sunday? That was great.
Yeah.
We had the 2 tables with us and then all the Americans and whatnot on the other one.
Yeah, we got to have dinner with.
We were arguing about what
There was
sports
one
to
American. There was one American on the other one. It was Nick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We still claim ownership of Patricia.
Oh no, there were 2. Sorry, Nathaniel, right? Nathaniel.
Oh yeah,
was there,
Nathaniel
too?
was with us. He was
Oh,
like
yeah,
beside me.
Nathaniel, who I
Another one of
actually-
our patrons. It was a pleasure to hang out with was Nathaniel. Nathaniel and Matt. It was great hanging out with you guys down there.
Yeah,
It's always
for
good to see the patrons
I
in
actually
person.
split my Airbnb with Nathaniel, and that was good.
All right.
It was
Awesome.
a bit of a walk, which was annoying, but again, ended up booking last minute, so that's what you get.
Yeah. All right, Tom.
Talk about last minute.
Literally.
Somewhere out there, when all of you were lying down to start digesting your Barbie's ribs and drifting off to sleep, then somewhere out there in the dark of the night, Tom Kerr was arising from his bed to hit the road because I couldn't get out of work on Saturday night, and so I left Sunday. Since Jay subtitled his segment, then I'll subtitle mine. Down with the sickness. The 24-hour Heroclix flu. Because that's about the entire period of that it was from the moment I left until the moment I returned. So yeah, I left Toronto at about 3:30 in the morning and drove straight to Montreal. I arrived in time for the registration at 9, only to discover that the actual you didn't really have to register until about noon. So I found these guys, and Mike and Jason let me into their room, and Mike had already kind of made an area of the bed. He's like, "You lie down on that part of it." So I crashed for a couple hours while they had breakfast, and then we all went and did our thing. So yeah, I had pre-qualified for day 2 previously, which is how I was able to get there and still make the use of the time. And this was actually, I definitely didn't place. I wouldn't surprise me if I came in last place, since I went 1 and 2 in the tournament, and the only points I scored were an ID card. So certainly I did not do well from a statistical perspective. This is one of those times that I must admit that I had such a fantastic time that I wasn't the least bit bothered by how I did performance-wise, and B, this is one of the times where the score chart or the score sheet doesn't really do a very accurate job of capturing what happened in the matches, because I had 3 close and competitive matches with the team that I was playing. It's just that in the first one I made an incredibly stupid mistake, like beyond all fathoming. I brought in Peggy Carter through a Shield level 7 ID card, shut down Coriander's invulnerability as was being gotten from the Phoenix Force, and came in. I outwitted Coriander. Coriander was near the end of her dial. I knew that 2 damage is all it took to KO her. So I took away the invulnerability that she had. I outwitted the energy shield deflection that she had. I had 2 probs, and Peggy Carter came in with +1 to all of her combat values. I think she needed a 5 to hit, a 5 or a 6, and I had 3 chances at it. And I placed her 4 squares away for no reason. I just had a moment of complete confusion and forgot how far away she was from Coriander. So instead, I knocked Coriander onto her last click rather than KOing her outright. So that was about as dumb a mistake as one can make. And as a result of that, then Patricia, who I was against, didn't KO anything else on my force. I didn't KO anything else on hers. We had both activated 1 ID card, and thus we rolled off. And I won the roll off, and that was my win for the day. In the second round. I was up against Jimmy and had another one of these close back and forth type games. Jimmy ultimately KO'd my Quinjet for 70 points, and I came in the last action. When they called last action, the Hulk came barreling in against Mystique, who had Ophidian on, to do a 7 damage straight shot that would have KO'd her, and she rolled shape change. So I got 0 points in that one, and would otherwise have won the game. So it came down to the last action. And in the third hilarious on-camera game with Nathaniel, I was playing a yo-yo type tactic, and I kept damaging him, kept supporting back, and it went back and forth and back and forth. Then he came crashing through and dealt some damage, but not enough to KO the Quinjet. And I was all primed to activate an ID card and then come careening in with the Hulk and try to finish him off, and then they called last action for that one too. So the theme I learned was be more aggressive, faster, and don't play such a tentpole, because tentpoles aren't really my style anyway. And it was admittedly something of an untested team, as I'd only ever theorized using the Quinjet as opposed to actually put it in practice. But I have absolutely no regrets, because I had a fantastic time. All 3 games were competitive. They were back and forth matches, and so it was anybody's game at any given point. I don't feel badly about how I did, and I certainly don't feel badly about the experience, because it was such a fun experience to drive in, sleep for an hour and a half or so, and then get up and hit the tables. I got to commentate on one of the games. I got to watch people. I got to be there and see Jason doing as well as he did, and then we all got to drive home again, and I got back to my house a little after 2 o'clock in the morning. So it was more like a 23-hour Heroclix Blue, I guess, and hit the hay. So as 24-hour periods go, I couldn't have asked for a better one.
I guess it's my turn, eh?
Yep, maybe.
All right. So, unfortunately, because of the number of people that showed up at the WKO in Ottawa, I did have to work for my qualification to the second day of tournament. So I managed to do so in the first tournament, actually, the first qualifying tournament, which was really, really relaxing. I ended up pulling 1 pack with both the Juggernauts, and my other pack as a rare had Mystique. Now, let me tell you how tempting it is to play both Juggernauts on the team sometimes. It's a temptation that's real. But I opposed myself on that and decided to go with the uncommon Juggernaut, Mystique, with a Harpoon and a Scrambler. And in my head, the way it was going to play out is that I had to score at least 81 points, because I could basically discount Harpoon and Scrambler as being alive at the end of a game. That's the way I saw it, especially with my team. Like, I couldn't protect them for the most part, because Juggernaut was doing what Juggernaut do, and Mystique was doing what she do, which is not be doing, or just not getting hit. Now, so I did manage to qualify. One of the games actually on camera, the third round, I was going into the third round 2-0 with 195 points. If I did not win this game, I was going to have to qualify in the second tournament. So I was already stressed out. Then they put me into the camera and against my wife, Amber, who is 1-1 and on the bubble herself as a result, because you need to go 2-1 to get in that top. I believe you need to be top 8 in the first tournament. So, with all that said and done, I did my against Amber was probably one of the most stressful games I had to play. I played a very mechanical game, or very back and forth thinking game against Edward, Isaac's father, and it was a really good game. And ultimately came down to the fact that I killed Cyclops and he killed the 2 characters I expect to die. Mike, I played in the first round. Actually, Mike did the most damage to Mystique the whole tournament. because you get Riptide. And sometimes there's just no stopping Riptide. But it came down to just doing what I could to Riptide as fast as possible. Part of it being knocking back into a wall and then having Harpoon sidestep in and bash with the back of his spear. That was basically my best hope on that one. So I qualified, then found out that I couldn't get a refund on the second qualifier, so I didn't try very hard in the third qualifier and went to go Battle Royale. So I played in two Battle Royales on the first day, played in both the qualifiers, though not so well in the second qualifier, and then moved on to day two. And day two, I was playing my team. Some of you have heard of it if you were on the Majestic site. Some of you heard of it because some people have been talking. Well, not many people are talking about it, but it has come up in lists from the top 8, and that is that is the Shifting Focus Superman with possessed by Proteus, Clarion with you could know with Teakle, a Mr. Mix's Pitlick with an Indigo power battery backing it all up. The idea, of course, is Indigo battery adds support to my team. So if Superman happens to take damage from Proteus, oh well, I heal it back up. I have a wall, a bulldozer, and a nurse on my team. The nurse is because I will be paranoid and copycat until June 1st. Let me tell you. Until June 1st, I'm paranoid of her. And the way I saw it playing out was I definitely foresaw the Shifting Focus Superman spending a lot of time with the I-Beam Superman for offense, as I figured I'd be doing a lot of damage at range with it. It turned out, because I was using the Indigo battery, a lot of people had to bring the game to me, which opened me up for the broken wall Superman, the one that can create an object out of a piece of blocking terrain and bash somebody for a lot more damage than objects deal. So that was ultimately what ended up happening. So now things didn't get off to a great start on day 2 because the first game I was on the camera up against a local friend of ours, Mike White. So in the first qualifier, I had to beat Mike Payne in the first round and Amber in the third round. Yeah. I'm so glad I traveled so far to do that. And then first game is a guy I've been playing with for 13 years and he consistently beats me. For any number of reasons. This one was a big mistake on my part. And if you're watching the game on camera, I really screwed up that barrier around Mr. Mix's Pitlick. And Mike capitalized, can't take it away from him. But it was a chess match for the most part where nothing really happened until one big hit attempt against the Batman. He critically missed with his Batman coming in for an attack because I was able to prob a dice roll with my power battery. And so Batman had taken 1 damage, but unfortunately I had not placed my objects very well, and as a result my heavy objects were too far from Superman to get a full charge onto the Batman with the attack that I wanted, because I didn't want to perplex up my movement to go get that object. I wanted to perplex up my attack to make sure hit that I took on Batman hit. I did hit but so what I did was I created a barrier behind the Superman, busted the barrier to see what I would get. I got a light object. Oh well. So I dealt 6 damage to the Batman, who was on his second click, but because of his toughness, it became 5. He was on his last click, but he was able to run away with the Batman. Yeah. Things happen. Yeah. So I had to try to chase down the Batman. Couldn't get to the Batman. He got 2 late clicks on the Master Constructs at the end of the dial, so hitting that Batman was going to be a ridiculous feat. And I just poorly placed a barrier at the end around my Mr. Mix's Pitlick. He was able to capitalize with a 1-shot kill on my Mr. Mix's Pitlick, and I had lost the game, 70-0. So I was in a bit of a rough spot going to that. Second round was against Nathaniel White. He was playing 2 Thanes and a Star Sapphire. So if you watch the stream and you saw his game against Tom, you'd seen the team. It is a ruthless, tough team to have to deal with. Thane is a tough beefcake. You can't. It's impossible to take that away from him. And he did kill my Superman. It was the first time. Ever since starting with this team, testing with this team, it's the first time Proteus moved, ever. But a Proteus possessing a Clarion is very strong, it would appear. And as a result, I was able to capitalize on that. And it also helped that he killed his own battery, because part of his strategy was get that battery down to the back-end clicks. So he unfortunately rolled a 5 or a 6 on click number 18, which murdered the battery, took away the Star Sapphire and the Shape Change from him, and it was just a matter of making my dice hit and keeping Clarion alive. So it was a great game, Nathaniel. It was a pleasure playing against you, and we hope to see you at Origins. And I'm glad you came up north. So after Nathaniel, I got into the third round against Drake Conrad. I know this player. Mike knows this player. This is not a bad player. So
that's understating it.
He's the worst. Come on.
If my stress level was here, it's like, oh my god, I'm 1-1 and on the bubble. Oh great, Drake. There goes my stress level. Drake was playing a newer version of his Yondu build, which I had played against in the past, and I have played it in 3 separate occasions with 3 different teams. But two of the builds that I had. Were exactly the thing he doesn't want to have to deal with, and that is a team that is capable of getting in his face. The first time I'd done it was with my Red Lantern Animal team. Second time I played against him was my PD team, and well, it's 2 guys that shoot against each other, but damn does he outrange me on that team on that with that build. So that really that one was basically a wash. But this time, because he had chosen ranks as his map to try to protect him so that he could take those shots from a distance with little worry of retaliation, this was the time I decided to remember that Superman with the broken piece of wall has improved movement breaks for blocking terrain. So after a little bit of posturing on the first few turns, I switched to that Superman and I just ran at his face. And that was really the only option I had in this case, was to get in Drake's face with his team. As well, I had phasing for Mr. Mix's Pitlick and Clarion, so they were able to get to where they needed to be. And I was able to get really close to Drake, which is where I had to play the game against him in this case. So after using a bulldozer to sidestep, force blast away his Spectre into a wall, it came down to Superman fighting against Greed. And he did everything he could against the defenses of Greed, but Superman was really just managed to overwhelm Greed. And after taking the Mystic's damage and the push on that case, I healed him up with Mr. Mix's Pitlick and went back at it with a fresh Superman. He did get my Superman down to a second last click at one point. He got Proteus down to his last click, and then I managed to heal up the Superman after that fact. Ultimately, I managed to, on the last action, get his Yondu with a really big charge after healing up my Superman with a saved dice from the Mix's Pitlick, and managed to score the entire team, which, oh man, did I have to work and chase him down for it. And in Drake's defense, quite a few dice rolls didn't go in his favor, but once I got rid of the Spectre and factor into the fact that the Proteus adds the stats that he adds to the Superman, that was against him in that case. So I went 2-1, but the 2 teams that I did beat were full wipes. So I was sitting at pretty close to 600 points, which in the current meta actually turns out is a really high scoring 2-1 position, as opposed to last year where if you're 2-1 with 600 points, you're probably not going to make it.
Yeah, this is very hit and run meta for sure.
Yeah. Even my team was very tentative for me as far as play is concerned, because there's a lot of games where I wall wait, like kind of inch my way forward until I burst, which is ultimately the goal. Now, before I get into the top 8, Mike, I know you said you had to duck out at 10:30. Do you want to stick around?
I do have to duck out, unfortunately. I have a really early morning tomorrow. But thanks everybody for watching me. Continue to watch these guys, and love you guys. I'll talk to you later.
Talk to you soon.
Talk to you later, Mike. So on that note, we entered the top 8. So now I'm sweating because in my competitive career of HeroClix, I've made the top 8 or the single elimination cuts 3 times in my life, ever. And 2 of them are rock events that weren't quite as sizable. So I'm up here, oh goodness, levels of anxiety, and then add into the fact that my first round of the elimination is against the same opponent who beat me in the first round. I'm back up to here again. They gave us a break for lunch. My first opponent, because I'm familiar with Mike, he asked if I wanted to go out for lunch, but I told him I would love to go out for lunch, but I don't want you to wear it because I would have just puked in terror and I just wouldn't have been able to deal with it. So I was up. I didn't take a lunch on that one and went into the elimination rounds. So this time against Mike, it played a little bit differently. Mike played a little bit more aggressively this time, going after me a little harder. So he chose Arcade's map, or Arcade's island, or Arcade's arena, yeah, which is just a wide open map except for a little room. So what was my goal? Inch my way towards that room, because I could use the wall as its own de facto barrier. Because this time as well, he started using the orange battery to take away my barrier. So Mike had kind of flipped the way that he was going, and I could already see he was gunning for me early. So what I did was I kept my distance to enough of a degree that Mike was forced to use perplexes on movement in order to get a big running shot on his Batman. A running shot for 3 damage on my Superman. The reason we went with that Superman, we had 2 options originally when we built this build. It was either going to be Superman or Coriander. The reason for which is both of them are reasonable points with unreasonably large dials. Or at least thick enough dials to make the Proteus damage not a concern. You know, they could take 1 or 2 hits from Proteus and still be okay and not have to panic about healing. So in this case, Mike did go forward with a big pulse wave that hit, or a big movement pulse wave, which hit my Superman for 3 in a single target. But I did what this team was meant to do, to the fact that I went and healed up that Superman, back up to top dial, switched him to the wall breaking one, and because of the positioning I was in, my objects were inside the building, I ran through a few walls to get the objects and come around and hit the Batman with a heavy object, though he was on his first click this time, so I didn't quite have the numbers that I had this time. But I had the Batman once again on his last click. This time, going into the next turn, the Batman, he used Perplex to perplex down his range to single target pulse wave my Superman again. This time, he hit with it, but I probbed it away with Clarion because you're single targeting. My Clarion's outside of the pulse wave range, so I was able to pulse, or to prob out the pulse wave, and he turned into a critical miss, which in turn killed his Batman.
Ouch.
So now Mike is on tilt, and his team was Batman and Element Man with a full orange battery. Like, there's a lot of constructs on his orange battery. So now Mike had to take his Element Man and put it in the midst of my stuff. And I expended a lot trying to get that Batman down. So I was in kind of a not the best situation as far as being able to avoid the poison damage, which he dealt to the 2 characters on my team that can take poison. These things happen. Because he also phased in with the Element Man and got rid of my phasing on the 2 characters that can get poisoned. So very clever move on his part. So one of the things that was also on my team that we teched in, and I didn't mention in the build earlier, is we had a Hellcat ID card for one of 2 reasons. Reason one was prior to this event, actually 2 days before this event, there was a ruling that Mystique could be attacked if you use an ID character at the beginning of the turn and started that character adjacent to Mystique, they'd be able to target her. Then they rescinded that thing, but I put my team up on the Majestic site, and for the sake of honesty and the sake of their, for the legitimacy of the article, I can't go and switch things like that too frequently on them. So I stuck with the Hellcat as well, because if another person rolls a shape change on me, I'm going to murder somebody.
Oh, yeah, she's super good, right? So.
Yeah, and I just, it's not that she has Battle Fury to ignore shape change. She just doesn't let the person next to her use shape change, which, in that case, lets everybody attack if I can attack that character, which is what I did. So in this case, Clarion dropped Teakle. Teakle came around for an attack, and because he was adjacent to Hellcat, he had a 12 attack on his own. So he went in for an attack, but unfortunately, Element Man was able to super sense that one away. Okay, that happens. So now it was time for Hellcat to attack. So Hellcat attacked with perplexed up attack from the Teakle. And I just, I went in with it, but I was also sitting on a 6 for Mr. McSpitlick. So, I rolled the attack, I hit, the super senses didn't go, and just as I was about to roll we rolled damage and impervious at the same time, and I was going to replace the die with the 6 that I had sitting on. So regardless, it's like, I'm replacing with the 6. So 4 damage got through to the Element Man. And Mike, I guess, hadn't seen the Element Man this late in the dial, so he wasn't familiar as to where he was. Element Man went for a big push to use his 12 attack to hit something, and pushed him to death. So, unfortunately, his team ended up getting the final blow on his team. I just put him in the position. All I did was put them in the position to do so.
Yeah.
So, with a big breath and sigh of relief, I'm in the top 4. So once I fathomed that and come to terms with that, I got to play against, and I hope I got it right this time. I believe Kenji Kineshiro. Kenji's team was a Metallo with Lockjaw, Justin Safert, a Green Battery, which was already my bane from the start. What else? Justin Safert, Green Battery, an Atomica, and a Lockjaw. So ultimately, and Metallo was possessed by Ion. So Ion has phasing. So what you do is...
That was the Indigo Battery.
No, he had a Green Battery on his team.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. So that just cut my free actions, because one of the free actions I take is swapping Superman. Well, crap. That's an unfortunate factor in my team that really slows me down. It was a team, I'm not going to lie, we should have tested against a Green Battery. I also knew going in I was going to have a problem with a Green Battery.
You and I never tested against each other, ironically.
Yeah. Yeah.
At least not with the teams we wound up playing.
Yeah, we spent so much time with sealed practice because, we looked at it and said, our constructed doesn't matter if we can't get past the sealed. Yeah. So after we did that, after all of that, Kenji's team, basically the way it worked is you give phasing to Metallo. Hopefully, if you win map roll, you make it ranks. If not, you make it. It doesn't really matter, because what's going to happen is Metallo is going to get activated by Justin Safert. He's going to phase forward 8 squares. He's going to shoot at you or hit you somehow with either extra stats or a power that, like Precision Strike, that'll get through whatever's important. And then, since that was a free action courtesy of Justin Safert, he finds his way back next to Justin Safert. Overall, it was a very well put together team. It was very outclassed. Like, from the get-go, this team had definitely outclassed mine. And I looked at that and said, I'll do my best, but I'm probably not going to win this, mostly because I didn't consider the Green Battery in general. And if you watched it on camera, it might have shown I did what I could in the early game, but once he got the Mr. Mix's Pitlick, I was on tilt. And what was worse is he needed a 9 or an 8 to hit my Mr. Mix's Pitlick, which was a relatively high number. He hit it with an 11. I was sitting on a 3 with Mr. Mix's Pitlick, unfortunately. And because he rolled an 11, there's a 6 and a 5. I replaced the 6, it's still a hit. I replaced the 5, it's a better hit. And because he ended up having what's the word I'm looking for? The Bulldozer Autumn. It was the knockback damage that ended up finishing off Mr. Mix's Pitlick. So once it was there, I was on tilt and was in the position to make mistakes. I was down to Teakle and Proteus at one point because apparently, according to the judge there and the rules, as it were, I hadn't seen a ruling on this yet in the WS, but I haven't looked at it. Because Teakle doesn't have a point value, technically he isn't less than 100 points because he isn't points. Existentialism.
That's weird, isn't it?
I wasn't
I don't remember
argue
seeing
with it.
anything about that in ID Rules recap, so...
Yeah, we haven't seen anything about it. I'll have to look into it someday. I wasn't going to argue with it, really, because we got Proteus on the board sooner, but neglecting the fact that, what's his name, Metallo has charge, there was really very little I could do, because you could make either a close or range attack with Metallo using Justin Safert. He was just in my face. The only things I killed the entire game was I think it was just the Lockjaw, really, that I managed to kill.
You killed Puppy? No.
Yeah, and it really, I did a couple damage to the Puppy. It was the ranks orange terrain that did the damage to finish him off. So I got Lockjaw, but that was the end of my trip. And based on pairings and points, I ended up in 3rd place, Canadian Nationals. And because 20 people showed up for the second day of events, because there was a little bit of kerfuffle with qualifiers, and some people who were already qualified placed higher than some that really needed the position. And that's not to take away from everybody. It's cool. You had to play. That said, 20 people ended up showing up for the second day, so 3 seats for Worlds got handed out, and it went to Kenji, and who ended up winning the tournament. Congratulations to Kenji,
Yep.
the Canadian national champion.
Absolutely, congratulations.
Member of Team Pushing.
Let that not be an afterthought here.
Absolutely.
As we talk about our own experiences. Congratulations to the winner.
Yep. And congratulations to second place, Ted. Last name forgotten. Sorry. I'll find it in a second. And on team, two members of Team Pushing took the top two.
Yeah. That's pretty awesome.
Those guys come in invading on a regular basis, and I use my best evil villain voice to say that this will not stand. There's a reckoning coming. But they played some great teams, tested them really well, and that's that goes to that fact that we keep preaching is practice does go a long way. Play testing is practice, and you need that to get there. So congrats to Team Pushing for crushing all of us.
And even as far as their team goes, the top two in the side event was his name Brian? I think Jason was also placed high in that side event constructed. So
yeah, the other person in the top two of the major side event was Amber. Mm-hmm. She placed second apparently. So congrats to Amber on doing that, and we took home a bunch of swag. And I do have a seat in Worlds, which makes mine and Tom's trip all the more exciting. I get to do so much battle royaling on the first couple days.
Sweet.
Until, yeah.
It's gonna be my first Worlds, or I think yours too.
Yeah, all three of ours.
Oh my god.
I do also want to point out that each day that we had breakfast there, we went to a little restaurant down the street called Allons Mon Coco. Quite delicious. Quite massive portion size. That's an omelet the size of my head. And if you've met me, that's a heck of an omelet. I wanted to also shout out to the guys at Carta Magica for running a fantastic event. Shout out for WizKids for letting us have this. It's great to have a Canadian Nationals, and what you provide for us is amazing. Thank you. Yeah. Thanks to letting us use X-Men and not making us a stack of liars
that helps.
For the qualifiers. And it was overall just a great experience for all of us involved.
Yeah.
So
I'm looking forward to Battle Royales at World since I'm not qualifying there either, and then better prizes.
I'll see you there.
Yeah. Oh man, yeah, I had a ton of fun, and I like just going through on the way out. Is there anything else you guys wanted to add to the event as a whole, or if we covered it in great detail?
Oh. No, I think it was an exhausting time, but it was a fantastic time. And so it's such an exciting thing. It's the tournament season for this game is such a wonderful thing. And I guess if there's anything that I was most impressed with, it was just the fact that the community just keeps. It feels like it gets. I don't want to say like it's not smaller as in smaller number of people, but it feels like it's closer and closer. You come to a few tournaments, you see a lot of the same faces, and the new faces that are there are welcoming, and it was great to meet new people and to see people again. And it was very inspiring to just feel like we're part of a real living, supportive, enjoyable camaraderie and community. So it was great.
Yeah.
All right, Jay.
It's nice to have non-competitive events in those kind of in these big tournaments, so you can play with Kenny in a battle royale and not have to worry about losing instantly because he's Kenny.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, that was the same in my battle royale where we were nice and loud. We were having a ton of fun. I was playing with Nick and Stan and Jeff. Jeff had to step away for a minute, and then Patricia joined in and wasn't rolling anything less than an 11, so we got a little louder. Me and Nick were both yelling, and we're like, "Come on!" They were bullying my major force. It was so mean.
She's delightful.
All right. So, without further ado, it's build time, guys.
Hooray!
And we're back to the monthly OP kits and building teams with them. And this week we're starting with the Guardians of the Galaxy OP kit, and we have the star of the Guardians of the Galaxy, the Star-Lord. Somebody say it. Somebody say it.
Who's
Nobody's
Star-Lord?
gonna say who? Nobody's gonna say who?
I said who's Star-Lord. Close enough.
And this is the OP kit. This is the new model, as it were, of Star-Lord, the new figure. He comes in at 79 points, 6 range, 2 targets. The Guardians of the Galaxy, Soldier, Spartoy, and Warrior keywords. He has improved targeting, ignores hindering. And he's got Pretty standard powers with the exception of 2, the attack power, which he has on his last 2 clicks. Star-Lord can use charge and has the wing symbol. After he moves and actions resolve, he can use Smoke Cloud as a free action. When he does, he may place any number of hindering terrain markers, but only in squares he moves through, kind of like the old Bat Bike. Then we have Leader of the Guardians. Star-Lord can use leadership. When he does, if he removes an action token from a character with the Guardians of the Galaxy keyword, modify that character's combat values by +1 until your next turn.
Pity we're not losing. Pity is that we're losing so many of them.
Yeah, absolutely. We're getting 2, and we did just gain 1, but
yes.
We're losing quite a few with the next once July 1st hits. But Jay, it's good to have you back again. Let's talk about your team to start.
Let us screen share. Let's screen share my terrible team because I hate that we still do this.
It's fun. It's fun.
Because I'm a jerk. We did, I guess, Shiara theme. Start with Star-Lord, of course, and then we do his dad, or we add his dad.
Hey, spoilers.
And then Jason Sparta's trait is that he adds the Shiar keyword to Spartoid characters, so that's how this became a theme team. The new Professor X rare is apparently, well, he gets Shiar because he's teamed up with them a bunch. That's cool. And one of Jason's favorite pieces has to go on the team, of course, which is Cerise. And then did the Indigo battery because my figures don't have crazy range, but then Professor X has his amazing trait, so combination of those 2 things. And then worst case scenario, when they do actually get to me, I can just have Jason Sparta pick everybody up and get the heck out of there. Bulldozer always works well with the that battery, of course, because knock them back when they're actually managed to get to you. Wall's obvious, and crossbow can go on the Professor X to actually get damage output. You can put it on good old Star-Lord for stealth busting, awesome damage output, and even when you get hit, the Indigo Tri-Bring has support, which is something that for some reason I don't seem to see people remember or know. So that's about it. Probably not really good, but he told I was informed to make this team at 9-20. So you get that.
Excuses.
Half of everything I've been saying today is an excuse of some sort or another.
Yeah. Actually, in all honesty, I'm usually building it while I'm making these guys talk about their teams. So, but Tom, how did you do Star-Lord? You're usually pretty creative.
Well, I appreciate you saying so, but I have to admit that I was very much stumped by this one. Also, I mean, I didn't find out 10 minutes before, but I found it in little enough time that I really racked my brain, and yet I couldn't really get excited about anything. I wanted to build something that would be the new modern and not use anything that currently exists within the Guardians of the Galaxy, etc. So I wanted to do a true post-retirement, like post the Guardians of the Galaxy retirement team. But I was head-scratching my way through, like, what could I really do with him that isn't done better by somebody else? And I can't admit that I really came up with anything good, but the best I could come up with was a team that works in the limited format. So I went with the new modern and limited, and it is as follows. So here's my team. First, we started with Star-Lord, and the one thing that, of course, stands out to me is that because he has the Guardians of the Galaxy keyword, he pairs up really well with the Prime Kitty Pryde, and I just love this Prime Kitty Pryde. I say pair up well because if you can make her little phasing maneuver be a round trip, then you can get back next to Star-Lord, hope that leadership can pop tokens off her, and also crank up her combat values so that her round trip is a little bit farther, and that she has a better attack value when she's trying to make that attack to add tokens to everybody. So this team is very much designed to keep these guys together. Star-Lord basically keeps people off Kitty's back by shooting them if they get too close, and in the meantime, they're moving around together. And my way of making it all work out was because I like theme teams, so I went with Magneto.
Love that Magneto.
I do love this Magneto. This would be the Age of Apocalypse Magneto. And if you're wondering how that works out, then he has a trait which reads as follows. When building your force, you may choose a character of 150 points or less. That character has the X-Men keyword this game. So this Age of Apocalypse Magneto turns this into an X-Men theme team because he himself has X-Men, Kitty Pryde has X-Men, and he has brought Star-Lord into the X-Men. I also like the fact that his TK, coupled with sidestep as well, gives even more swing potential for Kitty Pryde's little round-trip add token maneuver, and he can be hurling objects at people or making range attacks against them when he's not otherwise TKing. In fact, he can hurl the objects even when he is TKing because it's a free action as long as he can as long as he's got them attached. So the idea here being also we've got Guardians of the Galaxy ATA applied only to Star-Lord, but this is the one the points work out. Powers possessed by this character can't be countered.
Can I interrupt you there, Tom?
Yeah, please.
Kitty Pryde has Guardians of the Galaxy keyword, which means she's viable.
Oh, right. That's true.
Yeah, that's a thing.
I'll have to switch that out. Okay, so something I'll think about that. Because the other Guardians one kind of sucks, so I might go with one of the cheaper X. I don't love it. They don't use any other. They're wild cards, but they don't use anything else. There's nothing to wild card here.
Oh, this Magneto doesn't have X-Men. Okay, fair enough. Fair point.
Yeah, you see. Okay, but is there a 2-point X-Men one? I can't remember. Anyway, I'll muck around with it and I'll report back to you. I do want the pin particles on there for sure though, because I like the idea of turning either Kitty or Star-Lord, and let's face it, it's probably going to be Kitty, into a tiny character, so that Magneto can carry them both around. Because Magneto does fly, and by carrying them both around, we get the team kind of sticking together. Magneto can TK Kitty forward, then she can go out, add some tokens, come on back next to Star-Lord. Star-Lord's leadership keeps trying to pop off tokens. If not his, then Magneto's leadership is popping off tokens. Between the two, the hope is to get Kitty to make as many attacks as she possibly can, adding in tokens and generally frustrating your opponent until they have to come near you. And when they do come near, Magneto is hitting them with objects and blasting them away with ranged attacks, and Star-Lord is shooting them down where they stand. So, pretty straightforward. Not the most inventive team I've ever put together, but at least I managed to pull off a theme team there with creative use of that Magneto, and I will report back to you with how I choose to spend my other 4 points.
I like that on your team. Well, in comics, Star-Lord and Kitty were a couple.
Is that so? I didn't even know.
Essentially, on this team, because Magneto and Kitty are Jewish, you're essentially having Magneto convert into Judaism.
Yes, that's the real thing. It's not turning it into an X-Man.
That's why his range is so short. It was snipped.
Ouch.
Too soon.
All right, so I went with a little bit of what Jason do this time around because Jason didn't do what he do for this tournament.
Is it a soldier? I'll bet it's a soldier.
It is a soldier theme team. They gave Star-Lord soldier, so therefore I decided to build something of a fun little soldier team. And I wanted to use something new, and I wanted to make it a little flash forward proof. So I decided to go with Pandora's Box as my resource. So starting, of course, with Star-Lord, nice little soldier with leadership, teamed up with Captain Atom, who can get tokens removed, and generally towards his last clicks can do some damage or heal. Who knows, right? It's a whole clown car and miasma of things. I also added an Ultron Phalanx drone because at one point I had just a few points left over, but I didn't want to overdo it. Plus, that second click to be able to carry guys goes a long way. Add in the fact that we got a shield recruit and the Atom to wrap up my points, the final 35 points that I had left over here. Pandora's Box can go on a lot of things, and at some point I can actually start getting them on 2 guys at a time. If you happen to get a beat on me, the Atom will punish you for it. And generally keeping defenses high and doing what I can with what I got. I'm likely to put Envy on the shield recruit because I believe though her stats are pretty reasonable, there's a lot of characters with 11 attacks, or 10 or 11, and she's got a 9. So why not hit with their attack because they'll be better than hers. Or, if I so happen, well, you've got an 11 attack on Atom. Mostly probably likely to go with Envy on the shield recruit. The rest, you kind of got to play it by ear. But there's quite a few options. You can really get to the end of the dial eventually with this team, with the leadership working in my favor from both Star-Lord and General Lane to get the power actions, to add the items to, just get it equipped probably by turn 7. Or just enough of it by turn 4 to be doing enough damage and have enough defenses to get there. General Lane adds a lot of outwit to the team, and it was just something a little fun. I probably wouldn't play this too competitively. I suggest this for a casual tournament or a less hyper competitive tournament overall. And I had some fun with soldiers, as I do, because I needed to build both a swarm team and a soldier team to get around the fact that Jason played a kind of a tent pole this past weekend, even though it was a tent pole with 4 characters.
90-point tent pole.
I've also figured out what I'm going to do with my remaining 4 points. I'm going to let 3 of them go off into the wind, but I am going to spend 1 point on a surfboard and switch that out for one of my objects because that's totally still cool. And now I'm changing up my strategy slightly so that Jason of Sparta becomes the one that becomes tiny so that he can be carried by everybody. And Kitty Pride gets a surfboard, and I'm going to try to use my +3 theme to get onto a map with a lot of water so that she can take advantage of that +3 speed to make her little phasing round trip even cooler.
I love that we all love Jason of Sparta. Not this Jason, the Jason of Sparta so
No,
much
really.
that we say his name instead of other figures because you said Jason instead of Star-Lord.
That's fair.
Who?
Yep.
All right. Before we get into fan questions, guys, the YouTube comment section is working again, so get those comments down below if you have any questions that you want to ask us. As well, I want to send out a special shout-out to our patrons. 2 of them we met in person recently,
Yep.
Although I have met Matt in the past. I know it was a first for Tom and Mike, I believe. Or at least getting a chance to hang out with them, and getting a chance to hang out with Nathaniel. It was exciting times.
Very exciting.
And if you do want to yourself become a patron, check us out at patreon.com/Heroclix if you want to support without having to go through all the work of checking out our advertisers. And, you know, you get to support us a little bit more directly, and we do send it back to you guys as well in different little ways. We've been putting out as many possible games as we can throughout the weeks. This week we're trying to flood you guys with all the patron games that we got in the past little while that we've fallen behind on. So, with all the prep for the tournaments that we've been going through. In fact, Amber did the, speaking of prep for tournaments, Amber did the math, and if you're a Canadian, in Ontario especially, in 2 weeks we have Ontario Provincials, so not this weekend, but the next weekend, we have Ontario Provincials, and then, not the week after that, but the week after that is Worlds, and then we go into August, and then we have the Rock Canada Cup. It is a busy season for us, so... and that is not a bad thing by any means of the term. We love Heroclix. We love competitive play. We do love us some game. So we're excited for all that. We hope to see some of you guys if you happen to be interested in coming to our states/provincials on June 4th at the Comic Warehouse at 20 Strathern Avenue. And see Tom's beautiful smile and hear his sultry voice in person. It is quite something to hear in person, believe me. The microphone does him no justice. And he does have a beautiful singing voice if our road trip back home was any indication.
Yeah. Hey, you got to stay awake somehow, my friend.
Yeah.
Jason gave me to sleep with Tom again.
I slept with Mike, and we missed the story of the second night where I instantly wake up at 6:20 in the morning. Apparently, comes with being a father. You wake up before 7 on a regular basis, unless you've been up way, way, way too late. And I woke up to the sound of a little trumpet, and no, it was Mike beside me passing gas. So
good times on the road.
It was, you know what? Even if you don't do well in the tournament, the stories are worth it. You know what I mean?
Concur.
The tales of the trips to these events are enough to make it all worth it sometimes. So it goes beyond the game, and I do want to thank everybody who's thrown me the support and congratulations. I do appreciate it.
Well done, sir.
So I do want to thank everybody for that. I'm still coming to terms with it. I'm going to be brutally honest. It's like part of me is really super excited. The other part of me is still trying to get it all together. So.
But did you get any prizes that were not physical prizes or your qualification?
Qualification was the only non-physical prize I received.
Okay,
Other than that, was
the choose a figure was like the top, as well as all the other prizes, but nothing. Okay.
Yeah. What I got was I got a turtle van, I got a surfing Batman, and then one each of the 3 con figures as well. No ID cards. Oh, over it. But the seat in Worlds was plenty for me because that means I can battle royale all weekend at Worlds, and it also adds quite a few prizes to the ROC Provincials. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. There may or may not be an entire set of 2016 con exclusives in that box for the prizing.
You just upped everybody going just because of Hawkman alone.
Oh yeah, there's a Hawkman in there, yes, and a Shredder, and a Cosmic Daredevil, and a Turtle Band,
You said
and the
Cosmic
Batman.
Daredevil.
Yeah.
That makes me laugh.
All right. So now that we've vamped and given everybody a chance to add in their questions to the YouTube comment section down below there, down there. I want to start off with our first comment, Nathaniel White, who we've mentioned a couple times already. He says, "Hey Tom, when can we rematch? I don't think I've had such a fun game in a long, long, long time. 3 long days."
Anytime, any place. I'm always up for having a good time. Yeah, Nathaniel and I had an absolutely hysterical game. I certainly hope that, because it was actually streamed, and so this is one where if they put the live stream up for viewing later, then everybody can enjoy it along with us. But even if you don't want to, that's fine. Nathaniel, that was a fantastic time, and I look forward to the next one being even funnier.
All right. So next up we have Michael Backley. I hope I said that right. Michael Backley. Hopefully one of those was correct. I apologize.
I'm almost certain none of them were, but let's go move on anyway.
He says, "Congrats on getting top at Canadian Nationals. I asked this question during X-Men Piece by Piece, but might not have posted it in time for you to see it. I believe not. Do you wish there had been more characters clicked in Uncanny X-Men rather than multiple copies of the same characters that we got in the set, i.e. Storm, Magneto, and Nightcrawler? If so, who would you have wanted to see get clicked?" I know who Tom didn't want to see get clicked the way he got clicked. But that said, as a player of Modern myself, I don't mind reprints, getting a fresh version of a character I either like or do enjoy. But again, I'm very unique in this fact that there's a lot of players who do play the Golden Age, and I'm okay with them. I just personally don't have the space or the patience to maintain a collection that goes back that far. And as a result, having new versions of characters gives game designers a chance to do it right or in a different way. So honestly, I have no issue with it. If I was to say which character would I have wanted to see, I would have liked to see another one. Amber's been a big fan of Exiles for a while. She got me into the book. I kind of liked it. And one character I do want to see come out of that would have been the Horseman of Apocalypse version of Thunderbird, as opposed to the one that we got. Because that would have been cool to see. Tom.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. I mean, it's partly modern, and it's partly just that even though we can't, confirm or deny this in any official setting, then it seems very much like, that Marvel is doing what it can to not put its Marvel Studios owned properties forward. Obviously, the X-Men still are getting some play, and so it's great that we got another X-Men set. But if they are going to be as rare as they are, and if that going forward is going to continue to be a trend, then I'm okay to get new and updated versions of my favorite X-Men characters, knowing that we're not going to get X-Men characters that consistently. So in that type of a world, I can certainly live with a lot of reprints, because we did get an awful lot of characters that we hadn't seen for the first time. So I wasn't missing out too much on the fact that there weren't more of them. The only thing that I would have liked to see done differently, and this isn't so much about this set particularly, but just in general, is that the Age of Apocalypse is such a rich storyline that I feel that there's a lot of potential to dig into it in greater detail. But let's not shoot that one down before it has a chance to get out the gate, because you never know. Maybe they will. Maybe this little flood of chases is the beginning of something great to come.
Okay. Jay?
Yeah, even if you're going with the whole modern idea, we still didn't need 4 versions of Cyclops between the Fast Forces, the 2 all new, and then Cyclops retro, and then Cyclops modern. It's still too many versions of one character.
I guess the Fast Forces always seem like an exception to me, though, in that respect, because they're always reprinted dials. So.
I suppose, but I mean, there's no reason why they couldn't just do, I don't know, something a little different, or maybe, I don't know. There was too many Cyclopses. Even the Magnetos, the 3 Magnetos was a bit unnecessary. A fair list of what I would have wanted. Given that we got 3 Sunfires, I would have liked to see the female Exile Sunfire. That would have been good. Morph, Mimic, a lot of Exile stuff, basically. I would have liked to see some of the Avengers Unity here. I'm surprised we didn't get Havoc, because he was the leader of the squad. I would like to see some non-mutant that were on that team. don't know, maybe a cap with the X-Men team ability or whatnot, and those non-mutant versions of that team would have been nice.
True.
But it's X-Men. They have such a rich history that it's just impossible to go through everything, right? So,
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, I felt that even considering that you want as many versions of certain characters as possible, I think there was still an excessive amount of certain characters. Any one character getting 3 versions in a set is already a lot, considering that one character getting a space means someone else doesn't get a space. So, but still very satisfied with the set overall, so I can't complain that much.
Mm-hmm.
Especially considering that one of those Cyclopses apparently loves me.
All right. Next up, Matt Wallace. What's up, guys? First, I want to say congrats to Jason for making top 4 Canadian Nationals. I hope I'll have as much success in the competitive scene soon as you guys have. I've had, will hopefully continue having moving forward in the game. My question this week is, with all the figures that are in the meta, specifically ones that bring in other characters such as Ant-Man, Dr. Demonicus, and Fitz, when Ironmonger 2.0 phases out, do you guys think that those figures will still be present in the upcoming Flash Forward meta? If yes, then would Brood Queen become known in the meta as well? Jay, I think you're a little bit more frequent of this strategy than I am. What do you think?
Well, it's not even Ironmonger 2.0. Just I think the Star Sapphire battery in particular just works incredibly well with these kind of figures. That loss is a little bit of a harmful thing, but the Hank Pyms themselves are just so good. So, well, the thing with those kind of characters is that when your opponent is attacking these characters and scoring 0 points, they're scoring 0 points and taking the heat off your other characters while the free characters are attacking and stuff. But they also become slightly better because the Phoenix Force goes away, and as Kenny found out, that kind of the player playing that enjoys facing Phantom X because you just get to spin that tile super fast. So, I think with the give and take that kind of thing got, and it's given how good Rick Jones and Hank Pym are, how good their pogs are, and how good the pieces themselves are, I think that they still will have a place. And they also have good other keywords that aren't just Avengers, although with the Quinjet probably being one of the better resources post-retirement, I think that a lot of those characters do have a place. Not necessarily so much the Brood Queen, just because I don't think the Broods aren't that great at the dial that you get them at.
Well, they're also not 0 points. They're also points when they die.
Yeah.
That is the other problem with these things. And that's what the advantage of these kind of characters are versus ID cards, where you don't have to give up points to just use as many ants as you want to be annoying and be ants, right? So, and I think a lot of these, and they're also the characters that bring them in are relatively cheap, so you can play 1 or 2 Hanks, and then they have their huge amount of variety in what they can do between all the swaps, and then they're cheap, and Rick Jones is cheap, and then that's not even anywhere close to your whole team. So you still have a whole team of actual characters to get the heat drawn off of them by the poisoning annoying ants or the really good Rick Jones pogs. So there's a little bit of give and take in what they get. I think that retirement overall benefits them. So I think that they will continue to have a place when they already did, because Kenny was playing an Ant-Man. So there you go.
Tom, anything to add on to that, or?
No, just a general agreement. I think they absolutely still do have their place. I think the nature of their place maybe shifts from some advantages that are being pressed into other advantages being pressed. But as Jay says, there's nothing better than being able to throw an awful lot at your opponent that costs 0 points. But to the question regarding the Brood Queen, I would say the fact that the broods that come out aren't 0 points hurts their viability to be used in the same way that things like ants and kaiju and so forth are being used. So.
Yeah, and the other problem with the Broods versus the Rick Jones, the Hank Pym, and all that is that that's a lot of figures you have to get. And also the fact that in this ID card environment, that chews through your sideline figures really badly, unless they come from outside the game, which I'm not sure about. But either way, that's hard to get when you have to get that many actual figures versus the figures come with pogs. So.
All right. So next up, Andy Cox asks, what piece did you expect to see make a big splash but didn't, and what unexpected piece did you see? As far as expected pieces, when word got out of the Mystique strategy, I immediately started planning for it or expecting to lose to it. And only one player in the second day was playing with more than one Mystique on his team. So I was shocked to only see one of that strategy show up, which was both a sign of relief and a little bit of surprise, to say the least. What about you, Tom?
Nick Fury. I would have expected to see more than virtually none.
Yeah.
It's not that I was expecting to see tons of him, because I think a lot of people are building against Nick Fury, and it's become such a commonplace thing to build a team that counters Nick Fury that there aren't that many people left actually playing Nick Fury. But still, I expected that number to be north of like 0. I don't know there anyone was. I mean, I don't know what absolutely every team was, but and of course there were lots of people out there who were playing ID cards, so it wouldn't have shocked me if there was a Nick Fury involved somewhere. But I never came across one directly, and tangentially, I never saw him doing anything on anyone else's team, so he may not have been there at all or had very little presence. In terms of things that were there that I wasn't expecting, nothing specifically, really. That I think nothing I thought was trending. Let's put it that way. I wasn't seeing, oh, turns out everyone's playing X. Everyone was playing something different, which is great, and it's exciting, and it's what you want. But it doesn't shock me if that was the case.
Yeah. And as far as ID cards, Kenji did have Nick Fury sidelined for
as an option,
because he had a shield level 7, but he also had like a full complement of ideas for that too. He ended up choosing Iron Man against me. So
yeah.
Jay.
Yeah, I know that was playing Quinjet, obviously level 7. I know I played against Isaac, who played presumably was constructed. He had level 7, but just because of ID cards, you don't need to play Nick Fury on your team.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you? You're just much better off just getting the one precise strike that you need. And
well, I guess it depends on the team you're playing, but fair.
Yeah, but I think you're overall better off most of the time using the ID card.
Yeah,
I was really surprised about no Mystique. Or, sorry, one Mystique only that I saw.
Yeah.
Well, technically 2 on that team, but 1 instance of her on team. Yeah, I was really surprised, especially given that. I mean, the ruling against her was made so last minute, so it shouldn't have affected anybody's team because there was just simply no time. But then again, it was also reversed that same last minute. So even if it did change, some people would just revert back to their original plans. So I'm really sad that Mike isn't here for this next part, but I'm really happy about how good Guy Gardner did.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when this is the last opportunity for those figures, those participation prizes, of all which were pretty good or outstanding. And Kyle did not get his swan song. Guy Gardner did. And I just want to screen share this mini rant that I posted about Guy ages ago on the comments on the HOM section on him. So he is one of my favorite characters from this set. So seeing him do as well as he did in placing top 2 is just fantastic.
Yeah. I do often. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was also going to say, but as far as resources go, no Green Battery didn't surprise me because I think that there are better ones that shut down. And then I also, as far as I've seen, it looks like the Green Battery is more of a threat in theory because not so many people play it, but more are afraid of it. But just doesn't
absolutely.
get very much play outside of Tom here.
Well, the thing about it is that it doesn't do anything really for your team as such. I mean, it does, of course. It gives willpower, and it gives partial protection from Outwit and Perplex, and if you're playing Ion, it gives a stat boost, etc., etc. It gives nothing. But when you compare it to the other batteries, you're not building with a green battery proactively. You're building to be reactive to what else might be out there. And since you don't know what's out there, it's hard to feel confident building that way, I think, in a lot of cases. So even though the green battery is excellent, it is excellent in a way that is not in your control. And by and large, people like to build things that are within their control.
Yeah. And it's not even so much a shutdown as a hindrance kind of thing. Theoretically, people are keeping what it does in mind, or you could build it. I mean, I played against you playing a green battery. I managed to play against it somewhat decently, and in that win-up tournament, faced it the round before. So it's not impossible to deal with, but it just doesn't seem to get so much play for some reason. I don't know. So I think it was a very healthy mix of stuff there. It was good to see.
Yeah, but like outright, anything shock any of you guys that did well that you didn't expect to see?
Not really, no.
Well, I didn't expect to see Guy at all.
I might not, if you said, hey, Metallo's going to win, then I might have been like, really? But then again, it's not Metallo alone. It's the fact that Metallo is being used in conjunction with a powerhouse battery, with one of the best entities, and with Justin Seyfert. So with all those things in place, then absolutely Metallo has his place. So yeah, I wasn't shocked by anything. I think because it all made sense when you put it in the larger context of the construction of his team.
Yeah. All right. So, we move next to just checking the times here. Oh, hey, guess who's back? It's Chris Stockhouse.
Hey!
We missed you. And he also points out there's definitely a misunderstanding about asking questions for the Meta Lab versus asking questions for personal use. That was on my end. That's what it was. Congrats to everyone on a good showing during the weekend, both by playing Heroclix and by contributing to the live stream with commentary and interviews. It's a shame that your team married with Clicks had to play each other in an elimination-style tournament so many times over the weekend.
'Tis so.
Any advice for when you're playing against teammates when prizes, advancement is on the line? Do you go in with the mindset that you both want to score as many points as possible, or do you play it out even if it would cause a lopsided victory for one of you? When it comes down to it, we've always played against each other. We've played the way the game is meant to play. I know when I play prizing, it ends up going, like, when I get prizing, if I am selling stuff, it is because I have such a surplus of it. Right now, I've got just enough to make a really good Rock Provincials prize kit, and I had a couple of figures for some friends who asked for some things ahead of time, which I'm dealing with. So overall, I don't have a ton of extra stuff, and I'm putting it back into the community. So as far as prizing goes, it's less a share out when it comes to me, but I'm sharing it back, because my guys play, all these guys play in my tournaments as well, or in my big tournaments anyway. And we generally just kind of lay it all on the line. We just go to town on each other. I know me and Mike have some of the most intense games in the world. Me and Tom have the most. Me and Tom have played each other once in a major tournament, I believe.
Yeah.
The WKO in Ottawa, and I critically missed and saw what was coming. And that happens. And I was happy to see Tom get first place, and Tom did share as well. Ultimately, you don't do anybody any good if you don't play it out, because if think of it as a trial to get to the next round when it's a teammate. It's like, okay, so which one of us is going to go? And so let's put the best person forward. And what's the best way to figure out who's in the best position right now is to play it out. So that's how we all play. We all have fun. We all love the game. So we're not here to just manipulate our way up to the top somehow. We play it out. And we do try to be friendly, though I'm less friendly to Mike, but because he tries to be too friendly to throw people off their game. I'm on to you, Mike. Tom, what do you say to that?
I think you're on track. I don't think I was. I was originally going to say something, and then I realized that in truth, it doesn't just apply to when you're facing your teammates. It applies to when you're facing anybody in this context, at least in my opinion. This one actually, I can see people feeling differently about this. When you go into the game, you're each trying to win. I get that, and you do what you can to go forward with the strategy you've put together to try to win the game. When it really, really starts to tip the balance towards the fact that you're not going to win, then one strategy that you could employ is basically just point denial. So that even when you lose, you try to make sure your whole team doesn't go down, because then your opponent will score fewer points, and then if you can score more points subsequently, then you might be able to place better in the overall tournament. And that is a form of lateral thinking, and I'm not going to go on the cast here and try to say that it's not smart thinking. That is sort of playing the meta game in a manner of speaking, but I admit that it's a strategy that isn't to my personal taste. I would rather play out the game, and if I can't win, I would rather kind of Hail Mary in an attempt and then lose all my points and let my opponent enjoy them, if that's where things are going to go. So I don't know. Not everyone that in some ways, I guess perhaps admitting to that is admitting to the fact that that is one element of true competitive play that I don't personally embrace. I don't really embrace the idea of just trying, even when you're going to lose, deny as many points as possible so that you might do better in the larger scheme. That is a smart strategy to be the most cutthroat player you possibly can be, but I still would rather in the moment go hard and hope for the best, even when the odds are against me, and then lose and let my opponent enjoy all the points. And that really does apply whether they're my teammates or not. So no, I don't think you play differently against your teammates. But that, admittedly, that personal piece of strategy is one that resonates with me, and I don't think there's anything wrong with those who think otherwise, who do try to play the larger game in that respect, the try to play the point denial and do better in the long run game. No one can deny that smarter strategy. That's just a different. That's just a different sort of classiness of play, if you will, in my opinion. That doesn't work as well for me. I hope that didn't insult anybody. I don't want that to come off as insulting. Like anybody should do what's right by them, and so and following that, I'm going to try to do what's right for me.
Jake.
I can't think of any games against any of my teammates that didn't end up in just a straight up wipe, except for maybe like the recent game I had against Tom, which ended up going to time, but that was only because the green battery kind of messed me up and made me have to take slower turns. So, but like when I faced Jason, all my games I remember playing against Jason were just full wipes. Mike wiped me out at the qualifier, and generally those games just go normally. And I don't think playing specifically because of who your opponent is, because your teammates or whatever, and trying to give away points or anything like that is kind of unethical, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, if it happens to go that way, the both score points. That's something else. But I also know that I tend to be more open in these kind of things. Like in a lot of my games in this recent nationals, when I was at the point of losing and thinking that I was needing to score points, I was just saying as much to my opponents. Like in my third round of my qualifier match, I remember saying basically that I really needed those 50 points from that storm, and I was going to be just moving away to make him not able to score more points, which would hurt him, to try and make him have to come to me. But yeah, I don't think that necessarily like deciding or playing differently against your teammates specifically isn't really helping anybody out because of reasons previously said. So yeah, just play normally, play it out, see who's. I mean, it depends, and especially because whatever the environment is, someone's team is going to be better, or they're going to be able to play it better, and thus are more likely to win. And then when they win, they continue on to have better results and do better, not because somebody won that shouldn't have won because you're playing against your teammates. So you're not really helping anybody out when you do something different.
All right. Next up, just gotta check timestamps. Okay, Charles L. Franklin asks, which is better, Galactus or Zombie Galactus for a free-for-all fun game? I'm not sure if we're talking about like the boss battle type of game where everybody's against one player playing the Galactus. I say go with the older Galactuses than the Zombie Galactus. The Zombie Galactus is more for a single pilot versus a single player as far as design and build goes. And that I'd almost say the one that comes with the one that brings out his own like Silver Surfer or his own Herald.
Yeah.
That one I think is a really cool one for a really thematic fun for all free for all game where everybody's against a Galactus.
And Zombie Galactus is also only 1,000 points. There's it's gonna either everybody gets a tiny team or everybody gets 1,000 points on him. It doesn't work out well with him. Versus at the max points, the other Galactus is 1,800, which is very sizable. Yeah. And you probably don't want to run the older ones just because those old Colossals ignored everything or just
Mhm.
I've never had fun against them. They just are just ridiculously overpowered.
Yeah.
They're just a dice rolling contest. At least the one that brings out the Silver Surfer or empowers the Silver Surfer really does lend itself to a varied strategy of approach. The old Galactus may be virtually unstoppable, but it either is stoppable or isn't stoppable based solely on the rolling of dice, and there's really nothing else to it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. See, I believe in the Golden Age. All right. Next up, Robert Guy. First off, well done, Jason. Well done. I hope to see you play with your new swag at some point in the near future. Plan on it. Plan on it. Do the three of you, 4 counting Amber, I guess 5 counting Jay now that he's back, have a favorite eatery you frequent when at a tournament? Also, do you have any superstitions you adhere to when playing Clicks? I think we talked about that one recently, though Jay gets to add on his thing. And again, congrats to Jason, and thanks again for the entertainment you got 4 provide. I corrected it because he had it 3, but Jay, it's been a while since you've been on, so welcome back.
Yeah, nobody was like, "Hey Jay, thanks for coming back." 'Cause we missed you. Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, actually, a lot of people have been asking me, what's up with Jay, and like I mentioned, he's
got
got better equipment now.
Yeah, I got a bunch of those questions at Nats, and I'm like, okay, if you really care that much.
Yeah. But on that, as far as eateries go, I only recently started eating breakfast before tournaments because tournament anxiety is something that I just get really, really, really at heavy doses. And I just decided that going the whole day without food wasn't going to make it. So at least a big breakfast. So anywhere local, like my local tournaments, I'll generally eat. There's always a breakfast place near these venues. I don't get it. Maybe it's because nerds eat breakfast. I don't know. But near the Comic Warehouse, there's a wonderful place that actually just opened called Wally's Steak and Breakfast. Wonderful breakfast. I love it. And then, of course, when we went to Montreal, as I said, Allô Mon Coco with the fantastic, gigantic breakfasts was such a good choice. Because if you start with a really good breakfast, you can skip lunch because sometimes the tournament anxiety kind of hits you in the midday. And then as you're getting out towards the end of the tournament, it's getting close to dinner time and you're ready to actually eat a nice big dinner. And I'll generally try to find the place with the biggest portions because I've been going the whole day and generally just consuming caffeine and water throughout the day. That's how I kind of approach the meal process. Tom, how do you do it considering you're on the road for most of the day before a tournament anyway?
we call it black coffee, and I take it intravenously if I can. I don't really have any particular eateries because we travel all over the place. So unless you count Tim Hortons, which I do, and I get many a coffee, and it keeps me moving. As far as I wasn't actually on the one where we talked about superstitions or whatever.
I swear to God, if you don't talk about the shirt, I'm going to kill you.
Well, yeah. The funny, I did want to address it because actually Mike mentioned it with respect to me because I wasn't on that week because Tom has the same shirt he always wears. I should point out that's not superstition. That's just. It just was a thing that I noticed I was doing after a couple tournaments, or somebody else pointed out to me. It's like, you always wear that shirt. I was like, sure, I'll always wear this shirt then. That's the one. A fine shirt it is.
Let me find the picture for me from the WKO in Ottawa.
Well, yeah, no, it always is that. And so it's become my Heroclix shirt, but I don't really, it's not a superstition. I'll wear any shirt and play Heroclix. I just like to keep doing what I was doing because it's a thing that if people expect it of you, then they're happy if you fulfill that expectation. Otherwise, nothing that I can think of as superstition-wise. I often use the same dice and stuff like that, but that's negotiable. It's just I want to make colors that seem appropriate to my team.
Jay?
As far as dice goes, I don't like to roll dice until they roll bad enough that I have to switch them. I like to, I have a fair amount of really cool dice. I'd like to alternate a lot. Ideally matching it to my team, and I will definitely not do something that's opposite of my team. Like I would play, if I don't have any DC appropriate dice when playing a DC team, I'll just go generic rock dice, which is, yeah. Clothes-wise, I don't like to. Well, I tend to bring my Metal Lab shirt to tournaments, but then there are 2 days. I do 1 day of that, and then try to make my nerd shirt appropriate. Like this past year, because I was playing a cap, I wore my cap shirt.
Yeah.
And I also don't like to mix universes. I will try and not mix my cool socks and whatever. Because I have cap socks that I'm wearing now. And actually, because it was X-Men qualifiers, I wore my Wolverine socks for the first day, but that didn't get me anywhere. Nor did I pull a Wolverine at all, I don't think. Or I did, and I didn't play because it was the common and meh. But other than that, huge list of superstitions. I'm not really superstitious at all. And then as far as eateries go, it's just whatever's there. I ended up doing breakfast day one this year, and then did Tim Hortons for breakfast. And I just tend to forget to eat during the day, unless it's like right there. Because at Nationals last year, there was in a good plaza that had food really, really close. But I just don't want to miss any Battle Royale times. I just forget to eat.
Yeah.
Just go on the adrenaline.
Yeah. There is one clothing habit I do have that I didn't realize I did until a week before we did our sealed practice at our house, and I wear my hats backwards when I play. I always wear a hat when I go out to a tournament, like a baseball cap. So I'm always wearing a hat, and I'll go in with my hat like this. But the second play starts, this is play Jay.
Yeah. No, it's more badass.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not so much more badass. It's just a thing I do. And for some reason, I play better when I'm wearing my hat backwards. I call it mysticism or unconnectedness, or maybe I just don't have the brim in my eye. Like, it could just be the brim's no longer in my eyes, which means I don't have an extra distraction in my eye because I play very distracting teams.
Or it's because of Pokemon where he does that exact thing.
Or it could just be let's battle Pokemon style, and I'm playing my inner Ash Ketchum. But generally, if you see me in a tournament and I'm on try hard mode, my hat does this stuff. And yes, this is a snapback Assassin's Creed hat. And I believe that's all the ones we have on Facebook right now. Oh, there's one more. Michael Fedor, our longtime from the beginning patron. But he sent us a build challenge in the email that, unfortunately, we don't have the time to go over builds on camera anymore because we've been getting such a large amount of fan questions at the end of the episode. So we will go over this off the air, and what we will do is discuss it probably next week as part of the show. We try to keep the show a little bit on the smooth side. So guys, if you want us to judge your teams or do something in regards to a team build outside of our usual monthly OP kit builds, if you want to send them to us in the email, we will generally handle them off camera, and it might become a segment on the show depending on how it goes the next episode. But he also does throw in Happy Victoria Day.
Thanks,
Mike
everyone.
is quite familiar with the Canadian customs up here. He's a big fan of us up here. So.
Okay.
So now we get into the YouTube comments because those are working again. Heroclix Nerd 04, what is your opinion of the Age of Ultron Iron Man from the movie Iron Legion, and do you like to use it? I have one or two of them. I haven't had a chance to use them.
Sorry, was the question, what do we think of the Iron Legion piece?
The Iron Legion piece from the Age of Ultron movie set.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. It's a cool piece for the point value that you get, and I had to play against a team at Canadian Nationals last year on the camera, which was using a Book of Skulls and those Iron Legions, and it was stressful because those things have dial for their point value. Let me tell you, or sorry, they have numbers for their point value.
Yeah, they have number. They actually don't have dial.
Yeah, they don't have much dial, but they have some huge number going on. And when you're seeing like 4 damage on some of those characters, you start to get a little terrified. Go ahead. And just include that with the Book of Skulls. It's +2 attack on top of what they got. But generally, if I have used them, they've been popped up by an Iron Man or an Ultra.
And I'm not a big fan of the fact that Iron Man is popping them out, and they're worth 50 points for 2 clicks of life.
Yeah.
I think that they are themselves pretty decent. 4 clicks of life with the enhancement, running shot, 10 attack is perfectly good. 3 damage, it can crack invulnerable. So not terrible use of 50 points, but not spectacular. But I am not at all fond of the fact that 2 clicks is all it takes to give my opponent 50 points when they're being called in. So.
Mm-hmm.
I take on.
Because giving away points is just bad for you in multiple reasons. First, because it'll help your opponent win, and then when they do win over you, they'll be in better standing in the tournament.
Yeah.
So
as addressed, yeah.
All right. So they're and they're not there. we have our opinions. They're really good numbers, just not good click numbers. So Outnumbered Studios, what's up, yo? Love these chats. Keep them coming. Thanks. Wonder if that's another bot. We've had some problems with bots lately. For later, I saw the stream of the Canadian Nationals, and I have one question on the semifinal game with Jason. Why didn't Proteus equip Tactical? The judge called me on that, but then the same user here, and this is XD the T-Lan, he pointed out another ruling related to the brain. I'm not and because the brain didn't have a point value, the ruling here says no, a character with no point cost is considered to have a 0 point cost for determining victory points, and for game effects that check character costs. So ultimately, it was the head judge made a call on it. And though I slightly disagreed, I didn't have a precedence or a dog in the fight for that one. So, and because we were on camera, there's a little bit more active judging going on. Didn't want to fight, and I mean, I got my Proteus on the board a little sooner. I didn't really want to complain that much.
Well, the problem with that is it's a precedent set by another ruling. So when you're looking up your one figure, you're not going to look up the other, right? So.
Exactly. Like, are you gonna you're looking up Proteus and Tikal? But if you're looking up, in this case, it was Mary Marvel in comparison to the brain.
Yeah. I mean, you gotta feel for the judge in this one because I mean, I can totally see where he was coming from with that ruling. You know, an absence of a point cost is not in and of itself any deterministic point cost at all.
Yeah.
Zero is not the same as nothing. So.
Yeah, I also think that it's just a better idea to not waste so much time trying to comb through the rules for them when it's a time game, right? So
exactly. Yeah,
absolutely.
Judges are allowed, based on the rules, to make rulings, and if they're wrong, it happens.
Yeah. There's a question now. It's like how many judges and players does it take to determine how direct a line works? Because that came up with my game against Ed. Is when you have a power that requires direct line, can you go both ways in that direct line? And that's not something you think about immediately. So we all like. Myself and two judges all whipped out a rule book to find it. It was a pretty funny moment, and it was just like, wow, we're all really good at rules, but what is going on here, guys? So, but yeah, again, let's all just take a moment and just realize that wasn't gonna help me win. I was already dead, guys. But thanks. All right, and I'm going to give a quick refresh on YouTube to see if we got anything else added on. Nope, that's it.
We're good. One on Facebook.
Is there another? Where did that come from? Like,
how is that new Punisher piece you just showed going to pair up with the Punisher van? We don't know what the van does yet.
Soon as I have the van, I'll let you know.
We'll see.
I don't think he's going to be incredible just based on the fact that he has all special powers. His stats aren't particularly spectacular. So the van's not going to be able to pick powers or great stats. So I don't see why it would do any better than the one that comes with him. Comes with the van is probably intended to do that, right? So
unless, of course, the van has some kind of thing that says, you know, if it's being piloted by the Punisher, they can choose special powers instead of standard. So,
possible, but that's all conjecture. So
exactly, it all is. So
you know, at this point, I don't really see him being a spectacular use. So
who knows? We'll find out.
Yep. And Punisher Vane does come with a Punisher too, so.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's probably intended to work with that Punisher.
Yeah.
Especially considering that post-retirement we're gonna lose all but this Punisher that we're just getting now in Civil War, as well as that Punisher. Because the 2012 Cons are actually retiring finally.
All right. And on that note, guys, yeah, no, that's a message we got. Okay, so on that note, guys, I want to thank Tom and Jay for joining me over here. It's a pleasure to have you back, Jay, and hopefully the equipment maintains as it is. Tom, it was wonderful seeing you this weekend, and my God, get some sleep, man.
that is directly where I'm going.
I am sure you need it. I also want to thank our fans for watching, and if you're watching on the archive version, we also want to thank you for watching as well. We want to thank our sponsors at hcrealms.com. You saw HCRealms unit section earlier today for my own build, and I believe Tom used it for his build as well. It's a wonderful tool when you're building a team, tracking your collection, and it's the one used by just about everybody at this point. to keep track of what figures are without having to dig into your collection and sort through the dials yourself. As well, the forums is full of all kinds of conversation. Hopefully the conversation about Canadian Nationals will start, though there's not much to talk about with regards to the meta, because the meta is gone in a couple weeks. But
I don't think. Yeah, were there no? Well, Tom, you said you played a Quinjet. Was there like? Yeah, I guess nothing really stays.
I think that was
Wow.
As well, we want to thank MajesticCCG.com, our longtime sponsor, and our good friends with Patrick. Check out the Apex Insiders monthly, $3 per month gets you access to fantastic articles by some fantastic players. Some of them accomplished, some of them close to accomplished, and it's a great place to get articles by some great people if you check out the $3 monthly subscription. If you don't want to pay $3 per month, it is a great source for tournament updates, as they are usually even faster than the Rock in getting Rock tournament results out there. So thanks to Patrick for being a longtime sponsor, and the Majestics crew as well for all their support for the channel. And without further ado, guys, it was a wonderful time at Canadian Nationals. It was a wonderful time hanging out with all you guys that I'm hanging out with here. Sorry Mike Payne couldn't join us for the rest of the cast. It was fantastic spending an entire weekend with him and his trumpet farts. And remember, guys, when you're getting ready for the road trip to the big event, you're on your way to Origins or your ROC states coming up soon, just remember before you go that practice
makes
your
team
better.
Good night, everybody.